Hey guys, Chris from Hockey Tutorial here, and today we're going to be taking a look at skate blade profiling and also skate sharpening. Firstly, if you're new and you're still learning the basics of all of these different areas of skating and hockey, there are several different options available when you get your skates sharpened, not just the misconception of what people think a standard sharpen is. There's loads of different options for you to get your skates sharpened with, and the reason I'm shooting this video is because I don't think enough people are aware of how significant a change or an impact getting the correct sharpen on your skates can make on your performance on the ice. So in this part of the video we're going to be talking about how different sharpens will benefit different ice conditions. What I'm going to be doing while I'm talking right now, there'll be an image that will roll through that will show you the different sharpens that you can get on the ice. If you hear people referring to sharpens or hollows when they get their boots sharpened with numbers, they might say 5/16, 3/8, 5/8. The chart that's rolling around right now will explain what these things mean. If you want more information on this, there'll be a link in the video description and also in the annotation that explains these different sharpens to give you an idea of what they mean and how they work in a bit more detail for you. So one of the things that we're going to touch on is going to be hard ice and soft ice. In the NHL, you'll often hear this referred to as fast ice or slow ice. This isn't really going to matter if you only skate at one ice rink, but if you play hockey or you're the sort of skater that moves around to different rinks, different countries, if you're in America, different states or different cities, it's going to be you're going to notice a difference in the way that the ice feels. And in NHL games, this is referred to as fast ice or slow ice. So what this means is when they refer to the ice as being fast, it means that the ice has a fairly low temperature, which makes the ice much harder than obviously the comparison of a softer ice. And what that means is that if you have a blade that, say, is sharpened to a standard sharpen, a lot of people like to call it, which is probably going to be a 5/8, which is a sharpen that isn't too deep. This means that because the ice is very hard, the blades won't dig into the ice as deep as they would if the ice was slightly warmer or softer. So by it being fast ice, it means that the blades, a bigger portion of the blade sits on top of the ice, so the blade is able to glide and pick up a lot more speed and maintain that speed because not a lot of the blade digs into the ice. Now looking at the other extreme of that is slow ice, which is also called soft ice. If the ice is soft and you have the exact same sharpen, the 5/8, which is what we're going to be calling the standard sharpen that a lot of people get, as it's the most common sharpen. If you have this sharpen and you're on soft ice, a bigger portion of the blade is going to dig into the ice because the ice is much softer. And what that's going to do is it's going to make you feel much more sluggish. You're going to get tired easily because you have to put a lot more effort into getting the blade through the ice, and your blades aren't going to glide as well as they would normally. This is what the sayings that you might hear on games when you hear a commentator say the ice is really fast or the ice is really slow. He's referring to soft or hard ice. The way this works is that if you go for a deep sharpen or a deep hollow, meaning that your edges are very defined, you have a lot of bite or grip when you're on the ice. If you're on fast ice, which is hard ice, this is going to benefit you because you need a bigger portion of the blade to dig into the ice to allow you to be able to turn or corner tightly while you're on the ice. If you have a sharpen that isn't too deep, a bigger portion of the blade will sit on top of the ice. This is why the ice is referred to as fast ice. If a bigger portion of the blade sits on top of the ice, you can glide and maintain your speed much quicker with a lot less effort, and that's why it's referred to as fast ice in NHL games. Looking at the soft ice, what happens if you have the same sharpen that you had on the hard ice, which digs into the ice quite well and gives you a lot of bite. If you have that on soft ice, how that's going to give you a disadvantage is a bigger portion of the blade is going to dig into the ice. What that means is that it's going to slow you down. Your strides are going to be slowed down, you're going to feel very sluggish and you're going to get tired easily because you have to put more effort into your skating and your striding because a bigger portion of the blade digs into the ice. So if you want to be able to combat that, if you're going to be skating somewhere that has soft ice or ice at a higher temperature, you want to have a sharpen that isn't too deep, something like a 5/8, which is a sharpen that isn't too deep, which means a bigger portion will sit on the ice, allowing you to be able to move freely on the ice, still giving you control, but you won't feel sluggish and your blades won't dig in. If you're on hard ice, meaning it's very low temperature, you want to have a blade that digs much deeper into the ice's surface, so you want to go for a deeper hollow or a deeper sharpen. This will be something like a 3/8, 5/16. If you want more information on the different sharpens that you can get, of course there'll be a video in the annotation and also in the video description down below giving you more information on what the different sharpens mean, what the different numbers sort of equate to. A good way to tell the difference between the different sharpens, if you want to know is it sharp or is it dull, is if there's a big difference between the numbers, then it's going to be a deep sharpen. If the difference between the two numbers on the left and the right isn't that significant, it's going to be a sharpen that isn't too deep. So for example, 5/8, the difference between 5 and 8 is only 3, so it's not a very deep sharpen. 5/16, the difference between 5 and 16 is 11, which means that it's going to be quite a fairly deep sharpen. That's a good way of looking at it. If you're presented with some numbers and you're unsure about it, it's a sort of a rule of thumb to use to try and figure out what sort of sharpen you're looking at. So a rule of thumb, as I said, if you want to go for agility, tight turns, you want to have a slightly deeper hollow. But again, if you want to go for speed, rather than being able to hammer a corner very, very fast, very hard, then you want to go for a sharpen that isn't too deep. So that means a bigger portion of the blade will sit on the ice and it'll allow you to pick up more speed and maintain that speed for a longer period of time. Another area to keep in mind is going to be different size skaters of different abilities would benefit from using different cuts. The rule of thumb that floats around is that the better you get, the more experienced you get, the duller sharpen that you get. So a lot of good skaters, a lot of NHL guys use a 5/8 sharpen, but personally it's down to what you prefer. If you like to hammer tight corners, then you're going to want to go for a sharpen that has more bite. If you like to pick up speed and you're not too fussed about being able to hammer a corner very tightly without losing your edge, then you're going to want to go for a sharpen that isn't too deep, something quite dull, like I said, the 5/8. But if you want to be able to corner and have good agility and be agile on the ice, then you want to go for something like a 3/8 or a 5/16, which gives you a bit more bite on the ice. So one of the main rules of thumb that floats around that a lot of players are told, which I found is more of a traditional way of doing things on the ice, is the bigger the skater is, the shallower they want to go with their grinds. Because of the increase in weight, you know, if you're 16, 17 stone, very, very big, stocky kind of skater, the amount of pressure that you're putting on the blade is going to be much, much greater than somebody that's lighter. So if you've got, say, a 5/8 sharpen, which is a fairly common sharpen in the UK, which isn't too deep, but you are 16 to 17 stone, you're going to be putting more pressure onto the blade on the ice, meaning that the blade is going to dig further into the ice than it would with somebody that's much, much lighter than you, which means that you'd get more bite and sort of grip on the ice than somebody else using those skates that might be much lighter than you, or somebody else using the same sharpen that's going to be much lighter than you. And the reverse to that is if you're a fairly light skater or a very small kind of build, you want to go for a deeper grind to allow you to have much more bite on the ice, because there's not that pressure and weight sitting on top of the ice's surface to dig in. Going with a deeper sharpen allows you to have more bite while you're on the ice. But again, this comes down to the sort of ice conditions that you're on, but the number one point is going to be personal preference, which is one of the things that is so fundamental in hockey. Just because a certain style of sharpening works for a certain kind of player and the person that's doing your skates believes that that's what's right for you, that doesn't mean that that is what's going to be good for yourself. The best advice I can give you is to try these different sharpens out. Give them a go for maybe a week, switch to another hollow, give that a go for a week, see what sort of performance and feeling you get from it on the ice, to sort of give you an idea of what works best for yourself. So these are important points to mention. It's the sort of things that you want to be able to do on the ice, the sort of skater that you are, the level that you are, will definitely be affected by the sharpen that you get. If you're starting out and you're having trouble learning tight turns, crossovers, especially stopping, you find that your blades dig into the ice too sharply or too aggressively when you're trying to learn how to stop, you might want to go back and get your skates sharpened with something that's much, much more relaxed, something that's a lot duller than what you have at the minute, because if you go for something that's too deep, it makes your life much, much harder on the ice. So that's a really good point to keep in mind. Depending on what sort of things you want to achieve on the ice, make sure that you keep in mind what sort of a sharpen you have on your boots. If you want more information on skate sharpening and how it works and what works for what sort of different skaters and stuff, there'll be a video in the bottom in the description that gives you a bit more information on how skate sharpening works. I'll also pop it in the annotation above if you want to check that out. Thanks again for watching, guys. This is Chris from Hockey Tutorial. Take care till next time. And don't forget, guys, to follow us on Twitter. The link will be down below. If you have any questions, it's a really good idea to send us a tweet. Be sure to follow the ice rink that I'm at, which is Riverside Ice and Leisure, and also follow our Facebook pages, which will be again down below in the video description. If this video is helpful, don't forget to subscribe. And thanks a lot for watching this video, and take care till next time.